Right, so I thought I would talk about the third instalment, Onyx Storm, which has been a big release this year, and talk about how I felt about it and kind of what happened, and just give you a quick refresh of where we left off the second book. So the second book, at the end of the battle, Violet's mum has died, giving her life to protect the ward stone, and then Xaden has pushed himself over the edge and become Venin. And then this book kind of, you start off with them still in the school, and Violet and Xaden are kind of still with all of the other riders, and we find out that Andana is a 7th breed of dragon, and they want to go on a quest to go and find them because they need them to make the other ward stone fully protected or whatever it is. The book was so much better than the second one. However, there were still quite a lot of flaws, and it just felt, I don't know if it was just me, but a lot of things were just thrown in, and you were kind of like journeying with Violet to all of these different islands, and in the second one, Xaden and Violet were at each other's throats and fighting, and then suddenly they are the love of each other's lives, and Violet is like, I cannot be without him, I have to do everything, even though he's Venin, and everyone knows that they are the enemy, and that at any point he could be like completely turned and not be safe and like want to kill her, but she's just so in love with him that she can't see him as a danger. And it just feels a little bit like, well, hang on a minute, just before the battle we were saying that he was dangerous because he could read other people's minds, and he was this person who kept secrets from her, and then suddenly, because he's Venin and she could lose him, he's the love of her life and she can't do without him. So it was very much like suddenly like turned on its head again, and then we were like really, really madly in love to the point of not really being logical about it, which was a little bit confusing to say the least. Yeah, I thought like the quests that they were going on all of the islands and things like that, they were really interesting, and it carried a much better pace, but a lot of character names got thrown at you that didn't mean anything to you, and there were character deaths that you didn't get any attachment to, so you were kind of like, they felt like they were meant to mean something, but I was kind of like, who was that again? Oh right, yep, okay, I guess he's dead now. So they were kind of like, it felt like the second one and this one could have been combined together to make a really good, solid book rather than stretching it out. And I think you can tell that Rebecca started with this book series wanting to be 3 books, and then it's been pushed to 5 books, and there's definitely filler stuff that doesn't need to be in there, and you can tell it's kind of like making up bulk just to make it into 5 books. So personally for me, the second book should have been the first half of this book, and then that been condensed, and this been the other half of that book, and it would have just run a bit better. There was scenes, for example, where we go to this island and there's no magic, and her dad has left them on this quest, and she has to go and find these books that have been given to this oracle lady who's protecting them. And her questions were that only Violet could answer were things like, why did you not continue to date the prince? And it was kind of like, right, okay, that's a weird question. And they just weren't very, like, these massive, like, you can only access this if you answer correctly questions were a little bit like, oh. And also, the whole drama of Kat in the second one, and Xaden having this ex, and then her ex turns up and it's the prince, and he's this big character that has all of this power, and Violet's like, oh yeah, that's fine, like I didn't mention that that was my ex or anything like that, and oh now we've got to work together, and And I don't know why Xaden's so obsessed about it, but at the same time, she'd caused so much drama in the second one over Kat. It just felt a little bit like, okay, so now it's her turn to have the ex turn up that isn't wanted, and oh my goodness, he's like cheated on her, and he would still have her, and oh, she did love him, and then Xaden's upset about it. It just felt again like, oh, we're going through that same trope again, like it didn't need to be there. And I felt it didn't really make sense that she had befriended his younger brother, who they had obviously known, but at no point during it had it ever been brought up about the older brother being her ex. Or just, I know like maybe that wouldn't have come up as a conversation, but it just never was mentioned. And then suddenly we're like, oh, okay, so they did date together and it was her first love, and that was significant enough in the storyline. But we've only just figured that out now, just because he's turned up. It just felt like, oh, like an add-on rather than it being there from the beginning. I felt like some characters really shone through. Like, in the first book and the second book, Riddick didn't really have much of a character, I felt. Like, we didn't really understand. And in this book, we got a lot more in detail on how the other riders have relationships with their dragon, and Riddick made a much bigger scene in it. So I enjoyed those elements of it, which is why I enjoyed this book so much better than the second one. I just feel like, again, it's a little bit clunkily written. It does feel quite stretched, and there's quite a lot of fluff in it. And I don't know if it's just me, but there are so many names and places that are thrown at you, and I have no idea where we are half the time, or who it is. Like, oh, and then Pancheck. I'm like, oh, who was that? I don't know if I just wasn't paying attention, or I just felt like they were names that I was meant to carry through, and I just forgot them by the time I got to the end. I don't know. So maybe that's a me thing, or I just feel like they weren't big enough of an impact that I paid attention to them until the end, and suddenly they were meant to be a big thing. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's a her thing or a me thing, but that's one of my gripes. I still think that I'm going to read the fourth one, and I haven't had enough of it yet. I'm not going to put it on the shelf. I think we've got quite a long way to wait, so I'm just going to put this on the back burner and then probably reread the series when that fourth one comes out, and hopefully maybe once I've already read it, I'll have a bit more of a clue as I go through the next time round and figure out what's going on. I know that Rebecca likes to put in lots of different details that we're meant to pick up on throughout, such as we were meant to have guessed that Violet was a dream walker and could walk into other people's dreams. I'm not really sure how that's meant to be a great power, because it doesn't really help her in the story. Yeah, but maybe that becomes a bigger thing in the other ones. But yeah, let me know what you thought. I know lots of people really loved it. Yeah, and I'll see you in the next one.